Yes.
Okay, cool. Great.
Yeah, you guys are awesome for doing this.
Oh, thank the Globe folks. They
Yeah.
always reach out and they're like, "Hey, we have some stuff for librarians." Stop teasing me. But can you help us get it out? And we're like, "Oh yeah," because I
Oh
mean,
yeah, no problem.
especially the Globe. I mean, they're working with librarians and library staff to develop this. So you know, we do get a little like we're like, well, it has to be good for libraries and right for the library setting.
Right.
We don't just send out everything, you know.
Well, you should be protective of that. That's
I think
important.
so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, no, this is one of our favorite collaborations and partnerships.
Let
Well,
me
especially being from such a small little rural town, you know, mainly agriculture. It's really hard to bring the big in.
yeah, absolutely.
So this is wonderful, you guys doing that.
Let me just one moment. And we'll get started. I'm trying to share the link with my coworker who's joining us and doing some chat support. Um, it's, you know, we do so many Zoom meetings, but you would think we'd be better at it by now.
No.
And Brooks, when you reshare, if you could remember to share audio. You may have done that already, or maybe it's automatic, but there is a video that has audio in there.
Okay, we'll just get going, I think, and he can figure out how to join. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining. Like I said, we just have a few things to cover today. Just want to talk a little bit, introduce this opportunity to you. And let's see. I'll start, sorry. I just want to make sure I get everything. So, okay, yeah, share sound. There we go.
I don't know why the button's so small.
I know. Okay. Okay. All right.
So we're seeing your desktop, not the slide.
Oh, you're seeing
I'm supposed to see snow.
Oh, that's my lovely wife shoveling when we got 2 or 3 feet of snow. All right, all right.
Hello, wife. Hey, we got snow this past January.
I know.
That was wild.
It was unreal. My hometown got like
shut Florida down.
Yeah. All right. Is that better for everybody?
Yes, you can see it now.
Okay, so today, yeah, we're gonna be talking about this card deck. It's NUBE, right, Jessica?
Yep, NUBE.
I've been saying NUBE, but I think it's NUBE, yeah. That the Globe Observer team or the Globe Clouds team has put together, and they wanted some help getting it out to library staff. Before we get started, and I'll put this link in the chat in just a minute, I want to make sure we are about 3/4 of the 1,000 decks have already been claimed. So if you're on this webinar right now and you're like, I have not actually signed up for the application, I have not signed up to get my decks, I would say stop what you're doing. Well, don't stop listening, but stop what you're doing. Go sign up. The application's pretty easy. If you get stuck, we'll cover it a little bit later on in the webinar. So I did want to do a little, we'll just kind of go over the agenda. We'll just say hello. You know, if you want to drop in your chat where you're from. I already have somebody, Zedra, who's from near my hometown. That's always, I love making those geographic connections. And then we'll do a fun little silly icebreaker. It'll just take a minute. Then I'm going to pass things off over to Jessica to talk about the NUBE decks and just kind of talk about how they were developed, how you might use them in your program, and some additional resources that will be coming down the pipe. Next, I'll take just a couple of minutes to walk through the application. Again, it's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. I just kind of like to talk about why we asked certain questions. It's good for people to understand why we're collecting the data. And lastly, yeah, I pulled a few programming ideas. I hope you don't mind, if you've already applied. I tried to not have any identifying information, but from the applications that have come in, there was some fun little, like, this is how different library staff are going to use them. So I wanted just to share a few of those ideas, and then also ask you all if anybody was planning to do anything, really innovative and fun. A lot of folks are saying like, hey, these are going to be great drop-in kind of program things, or I might include these in a circulating kit. But if there's anything, that you have specifically planned that you're excited about, a chance to share that. Okay, this is such a silly icebreaker. There is no meaning here or anything like that, but we just, we've done a lot of solar eclipse stuff, and we used to do an icebreaker that was like, what solar feature are you feeling today? So I wanted to change that and do, what kind of cloud are you today? Jessica, I'm not a cloud expert. I hope I got these right. So first, and I'll pop up the poll, and you can explain your reasoning if you want, in the chat. Just check. All right, so what kind of cloud are you today? Are you a cumulonimbus, right? So that's going to be big, towering, majestic, electric, and dramatic. I don't really like ChatGPT, but I did use it to help me come up with some words for clouds, because I was kind of stuck on like precipitous and very scientific words. All right, B, in the top right, we have cirrus. So delicate, wispy, ethereal. So maybe if you're feeling, cirrus, you're feeling like, hey, I'm being retrospective. I'm up in the clouds today. I have a 30,000-foot view on everything. Next, we have lenticular. So that's going to be mysterious and mesmerizing. And I just love this word, opalescent. Maybe that's because I studied rocks. I like that word, which just means like iridescent, like different colors are kind of reflecting off of it. Lenticular clouds, we get a lot of those where I live in Colorado. They're so cool to look at. And lastly, we have stratus, right? So those are going to be those low-laying. Here we're looking at stratus clouds. There's like a little inversion. Gloomy, gray, flat. So maybe, it hasn't been the best day. Maybe that's what you're feeling. I'm going to say, for me, I was just sharing earlier, I have some old dogs. They were sick earlier. One of them was sick earlier in the week. Now she's doing great. So I'm probably feeling pretty cumulonimbus. I'm feeling majestic and electric. I'm excited, I'm feeling happy.
Oh, that's what I picked too, just because I'm so excited to share all of this.
Oh, cool. I was just making my way through the chat, seeing everybody. Oh, Liz, hello from Guam. Have a day. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, Elizabeth says, we have somebody from Alaska too. Awesome. Nice to meet you, Joanne. Stratus is the weather here today, and I've been doing school visits for the last 6 hours. I'm not necessarily gloomy, but I'm feeling very flat, right? Yeah. All your social currency is gone. Zedra says she's feeling wispy. Joyanne says she's feeling cumulonimbus, strong, powerful. I love it with the exclamation point. All right.
One of our activities, we've got a dance for this too. And so I do a cirrus.
Wait,
I do a cumulus. And then we do stratus is my zen. Mm-hmm.
I have a game I do too for rocks, different types of rocks, because that's like my background, where you're like metamorphic, igneous, where you explode out, you're sedimentary. Let's see. I can't see oh, here's the poll. Let me see. Okay, most people, it sounds like, are feeling cirrus today, feeling wispy, delicate, ethereal. Many people are feeling mysterious and opalescent. I love that, and mesmerizing. All right, it's a good mix here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that being said, oh, and for somebody that is from SSI, I see we've got Claire. Oh, thank you, Claire. You dropped the chat and the application and the link. Just again, as a reminder, if you want to go apply for these cards, if you haven't done it, I'd say go ahead and do that right now, where supplies are getting a little limited. And Claire also posted that blog post in the first message. All right, thank you. All right, so with that, I am going to turn things over to Jessica. Jessica, I'll just be here to hit the next button for you. And Jessica's going to talk a little bit about the Globe Clouds program in general, and also the NUBE card.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Well, hi, everyone. I am Jessica Taylor, coming to you live from NASA Langley Research Center. That's in Hampton, Virginia. I am a physical scientist, and my background is in meteorology, among a few other things. And so I like to tell students and the public that I study the weather and I study clouds, and I'm super excited to get to talk to you about what we do at NASA, as well as share this new game that we have that is part of the work we do under Globe Clouds. So before we get started, I just kind of want to set the stage of what our team does here at NASA Langley, and also to really begin to put that thought in everyone's mind about NASA's role in studying Earth, right? So oftentimes, if I say NASA, go ahead and type in the chat. What are things that you think of when I say NASA? Space, outer space, rockets, exploration. Tang. Yes, moon, the stars. We often think about space and looking from our home planet out to the beyond. Science, innovation, youth. Oh, yes, space science. Well, I work in the part of NASA where we use our amazing assets in space and within the atmosphere to study our home planet Earth. Remember, Earth is the most important planet because it's the only one that we are on, right? And so we leverage that technology and those views of from space back to Earth to better understand our home planet. So if you could try to make that animation play, what we have is a lot. We have a lot of different satellites that are orbiting Earth. Some take different paths. And on each of these satellites, there are maybe 1, 2, 3 instruments on them collecting data about our planet. And they can collect data about the atmosphere, the water, the land, so many different aspects of the Earth system. And NASA's job is to collect this data and make it publicly available so you can use it, and decision makers in communities and in nations can use it as well. So some examples of the different types of things that we are measuring from space include information about the air that we breathe, maybe about the rain, snow, precipitation, so the water that can be provided for communities or agriculture. Also, the information can oftentimes be used for information on natural disasters. Sometimes it's droughts, sometimes that's flooding, sometimes it's other things. And also, we often think about land, but oceans in general, right? Because we do, it is the blue marble. So we're collecting all this data about different aspects of the Earth system and making that available worldwide. All right, go ahead next. So if we think about that view from space, I want you to imagine that you're a satellite orbiting Earth. You're actually going very, very fast, right? Because you're orbiting Earth. But you are looking down at Earth. Well, that's a specific perspective, right? So you're looking down, and sometimes we have instruments that are using technology that's like a camera, or sometimes it's instrumentation that's like measuring heat, think like temperature. But in any case, we're looking down. But you on the ground, you have a totally different perspective, especially when we think of something like clouds, which your feet are on the ground and you are looking up. So in this picture on the right-hand side, you start to get an idea of how we might piece together information. So information that is being collected from an instrument in space is going from space through, right, through the atmosphere down to the ground. And so oftentimes for clouds in particular, they do a great job of seeing the top layer of clouds. But actually clouds can form at low, middle, and high altitudes within our atmosphere close to the ground here. And so we on the ground, though, get this great perspective looking up. So sometimes we see the low cloud deck even better than maybe a satellite sees it because there might be clouds in the way. All of this to say that same reason we have multiple satellites in space is the reason why we collect this data from the ground too, because it helps complement and make a better picture and understanding of what's going on. Next. So not only do we use information from people on the ground, but you think about, we definitely have all these satellites in space, but we also complement it with other instruments at different layers of the atmosphere. So it might be with CubeSats. It might be with airborne instruments, in other words, aircraft. We do a lot of that here at NASA Langley, where we take like a regular airplane, so to speak, you like strip the inside of its regular commercial seats, and you put instruments on it instead. So you might like drill a hole in the side, so like there you could have an air intake, or maybe there's a hole in the bottom, so you could test out an instrument before it goes and flies in space. There's also stratospheric balloons. And then if you look at the ground, we do have a lot of ground sensors, and that's providing additional information. I want to draw your attention to the middle, where we have the logo of the GLOBE program and smartphones and citizen science. NASA understands and appreciates the value that ground human observers can provide in collecting data about our Earth. And so we piece all of these different types of information together to get us a more robust Earth data set. All right, next slide. And that's something that you can contribute to as part of this GLOBE program. The reason I get so excited about GLOBE is that I was a GLOBE student. So we were just saying, I lived in Tallahassee for a while. So I went to Florida State and I learned about the GLOBE program there and became part of the program. And I went out every day and collected all sorts of atmospheric measurements like clouds, temperature, precipitation, aerosols. And if you're from the South, you know that the Tallahassee area is sticky and hot, and it was on a tar roof. Okay, it was hot, but I learned so much about what it meant to do science. I was learning about all of the skills of a scientist because I was doing science. I mean, yes, I was in the field because I was studying meteorology, but through the GLOBE program, I was practicing how to use instruments and observations, and I understood that class better than all of my other peers, and that's what gave me confidence to become a scientist afterwards. And I really credit the GLOBE program with helping me get to where I am today. And everyone can contribute to the GLOBE program. That's the beauty of it. You don't have to be a professional scientist to do science, collect data about your environment, and contribute it to this global database. So a little more about GLOBE. We are celebrating our 30th, that's right, 30th anniversary of the GLOBE program. It is sponsored by NASA and receives support from other federal agencies, NSF, NOAA, and the Department of State. And it is an acronym like many things at NASA, and it stands for Global Learning and Observations to Benefit the Environment. I think it's a lovely acronym. It is a citizen science effort, or people can sometimes use the terms voluntary science or participatory science. So again, the idea of non-professional scientists doing science work, and everyone can participate in that. And we are doing this really by looking at Earth systems. So you can collect data. I'm going to be talking about clouds, but there are also opportunities for you to collect data about water, about soil. So it really makes it an Earth system science, again, through data collection and sharing that data. When you participate in this program, like I mentioned, my gaining confidence in science skills, you are gaining skills in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, increasing your data literacy, critical thinking, and problem solving. And really, we think of this as human-powered Earth observatory, right? So sometimes I show that image of satellites orbiting Earth, but we are on the ground. We have the capability of moving in different locations, and we're collecting that data too. So this is our version of NASA's eyes and ears on the ground through you as volunteers collecting that data. And really what we're able to do is help to increase environmental observations and bridge any data gaps, because now that we have a 30-year history, we're looking to keep going even further. All right, next. So I mentioned Earth systems. Now I mentioned that we're going to talk about clouds, which is one protocol, but it's one protocol of many different Earth variables that you can collect data about in GLOBE. So GLOBE creates standardized what we call protocols. They're the steps and procedures to collecting the data, so that and instrument specifications, so that the data that I collect here, now that I live in Virginia, can be compared to the data collected in Florida, or the data collected in Guam, or maybe a GLOBE country like the Philippines or in Italy. And so we're all using that same steps and procedures. And for clouds is the most popular because clouds are amazing. Who doesn't want to enjoy watching some clouds? And we have an app for that that makes it really easy to collect the data that we'll talk about here in a minute. All right, go ahead next. So to give you an idea of who's participating, there are a lot of people participating and contributing measurements. Over 1 million citizen scientists, and it is international in scope. We have over 125 countries that are participating in the GLOBE program. So you are joining an international community of people that are curious and interested in their environment. Okay, next. So who does GLOBE? I've been saying like everybody. Well, everybody, so K to Gray, right? So preschool students can participate in doing GLOBE, younger youth, teens, adults, all the way to lifelong learners. And we have so many different members of communities participating. In particular, here we've got a Nobel laureate. We've been doing a lot of work recently with the Civil Air Patrol. And I got the wonderful opportunity to train astronaut Megan MacArthur in how to use the GLOBE app and collect data.
Were you starstruck, Jessica?
Yeah, I definitely had to contain my excitement until the end. I had a couple other participants. It was at this wonderful conference, Space Exploration Educators Conference, and a couple people came up and they said, "How do you feel about training the astronaut?" And I was like, "Talk to me later. Right now, I got to stay in the zone."
You know, she probably knows how to do some complex things, but you taught her how to use the app and do citizen science. So
She was wonderful. She had great questions, and you know, I think astronauts are always from that view from space, right? They talk about this a lot, become so interested in our home planet Earth.
Oh, right.
And this is a great way to continue that exploration. All right, yeah, go ahead next. Okay, so when we say K to Gray, we also mean in lots of different settings too. GLOBE was originally started and known for its work in the traditional, like a classroom setting. But we do a lot of work in informal education. Oh, I love that picture over there. We have been at different camps. We've worked with, you know, YMCA, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, lots of different informal programs. And of course, at libraries, because you are where the community is at. And so we have worked a lot with Queens Public Library recently to test a lot of these GLOBE Clouds materials. And it is through that strong collaboration with them that we came up with this idea for a game and the card deck. So go ahead next. So before we hop into the card deck, we want to play this little video, more specifically talking about clouds, just to give you an idea of NASA's role again in studying clouds.
When you see fluffy white clouds in a blue sky, you know you're usually in for a pleasant afternoon. A sky full of thundering dark clouds, and you'd better find an umbrella. What could be easier than understanding clouds, right? Ha! When it comes to climate, clouds are far from simple. We know they're a very important piece of the puzzle, but they're hard to fit into the big picture. Why? One huge reason is that clouds both cool Earth by shading it from the sun and warm Earth like blankets, trapping the heat it gives off. Clouds cover around 70% of the planet at any given time, so they play a big role in determining how warm and how much water Earth gets. The thing is, scientists aren't sure how climate change is affecting clouds, or how clouds are affecting climate change, whether they're tipping the balance towards more warming or cooling, and how this will affect our planet in the future. For example, some places may get more rain, and some other places much less rain in the years to come as the climate changes. So NASA studies clouds from all angles to help scientists make their climate forecasts a lot less cloudy.
All right, thanks for that. It's a short video, but I think it does a good job of summarizing, clouds are really critical. We think of them, of course, in our day-to-day weather, right? Because we want to know if it's going to be a warm day or cold, obviously, for putting on our clothes. But we also want to know, is there going to be rain? Is there not going to be rain? But clouds also are one of those variables that we need to better understand to understand what is going on with our climate, what's going on with these long-term records. How are clouds currently changing, and how might clouds be impacting it likewise? And the trick here is not all cloud has the same impact. There are some clouds that are, like they said, cooling clouds, like you think of when you go outside, you're hot, but a cloud rolls overhead and provides you some relief with shade, right? But there are also some clouds that actually act to warm, like a blanket trapping that heat in. And so it's not enough for us to just know that there's clouds there. We want to know more about the clouds, like what the type is, maybe how much light passes through, all different variables and properties of that cloud. So we have put together, we're real excited that one of my teammates is hoping to be able to attend and support the NASA booth at American Library Association coming up here. And we put together a short blog about some of the key globe and particularly globe clouds resources that have been used by other libraries already. So that's what that blog is there. And certainly it includes, we're hoping that by doing some of these activities, you get patrons interested in maybe even going out and then joining the globe community and collecting data about the environment as well. So it's got information on how to download the app, as well as information about some of the supporting resources, including the storybooks and other hands-on activities. All right, next.
Oh, that's an awesome resource, Jessica. I need to make sure we link that in our blog about all of this.
Oh, wonderful. That would be great.
Yeah. Sky, if you're online, if you wouldn't mind just grabbing that link and shooting it to me in Teams, and then I'll put it on the blog.
So one of the things we're going to feature there, and we're so excited to share with you, is our new game, NUBE. It's pronounced NUBE, and it is the Spanish word for cloud. This is a game it's a card game. What's great about it is it can be super flexible. We have specific directions on how many cards you should hand out and whatnot, but you can adjust that if you need to, depending on your group size or their interest. And the idea of the game is for you to get rid of all of the cards in your hand. And how you do that is by matching the card that's down, either in terms of the cloud type or the shade of blue. So let me explain for a minute. So we're focusing this game on the names of clouds. We know that can be really tricky. And that was something that librarians were using our other Globe Clouds resources and saying like, yeah, but we keep getting stuck on the names, right? And so this is a fun way to really learn the names. Now, the shades of blue is also something that we ask for when you collect cloud and sky observations. You may have noticed that sometimes your sky looks really deep blue, and sometimes it might look a little whitish, not because of cloud, just like the sky itself. And that can be because of aerosols. Aerosols are little individual particles of stuff floating around in the atmosphere. They can be natural sources like dust or sea spray, or it can be from human factors, but they reflect all wavelengths of light equally. So they wind up reflecting white. And so the sky color can be an indicator of aerosols in there. So you'll be matching to cloud type or color. And then, of course, to make the game more fun, there are special cards like Rainmakers, which makes you have to change up direction. Maybe you're going to have to give up a few cards there. There's some mystery ones where you're going to have to maybe act out or describe a cloud, as well as some obscuration clouds. So this is our new game. We're so excited to share it with you all, and hopefully you are in the process of registering to receive those, and we're so grateful to StarNet for their collaboration helping make these available and get them out the door to you all. All right, next slide. So we did do a lot of co-development of this with Queens Public Library. They were able to test this at 4 different branches that they have, along with not just testing with just one particular age group. So we were able to do testing with young kids, teenagers, and adults. Parents and caregivers joined in, as well as they did some adult programming, which is super exciting. And it was also tested at the Challengers Center and the Center for STEM Teaching and Learning. So we've gotten a lot of feedback before we finalize this, and we're so grateful to be able to co-develop it with this amazing community of librarians. All right, next. If you want to go ahead and take a look at what it looks like already, we do have a print yourself version on the website, including this amazing little box you could print as well. Also helpful to know in case, like, for some reason, like a card winds up missing. They do come in the deck because the intent is we're hoping that these are a reusable item. But I know one thing, it always happens with my kids personally, is that they lose at least one card. So keep handy the website. It'll also have the full directions if you needed to reference those as well. All right, next. Okay, so that's the end of my part, and I am so grateful again for all of you being here and for your interest in this. I'm going to also type my email in the chat. If you happen to have any questions or would be interested in talking more about programming around Globe or around doing more clouds activities, I'd be happy to do that. So I'm going to drop that in and hand it back over to Brooks. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Jessica. It's always like, I think that we think of sometimes doing participatory science or citizen science in a library. It's just a fun way to get kids involved in the data collection process. And it's always great to hear how actually very usable this is and how this is actually contributing to the collection of scientific data. You know, this is actually, it's not just a program to get people involved. I mean, that's a great part of it, but it's also, you know, contributing to the scientific field. So, yeah, thank you for sharing. And then also, I'll say we've had a lot of success doing other types of Globe programs in libraries. Clouds are great, but one of the best sessions I've ever led was at the Colorado Association of Libraries, and we did the mosquito habitat mapping. And I remember beforehand thinking, I'm not sure how these librarians are going to like looking at my mosquito larva. And I have pictures of it of just all these, you know, big smiles and everybody holding up their larva and holding up the photos of the mosquitoes and everything. So definitely check out the mosquito habitat mapping. I haven't done anything with the trees, the Globe Trees program yet, but there's a few other ones, as Jessica mentioned, that are definitely worth checking it out, especially if you have those patrons, maybe, you know, teens, younger patrons that are like, you can tell that they're really interested in science and you want something to, you want something to kind of take it up a level or send them home with or find a way for them to participate. So let's see, I'm just going to catch up on the chat. Joanne says the summer library program through iRead in some states actually has some great lesson plans that Globe marries up with nicely. Yeah, absolutely. I know that was one of the questions in the application, and that was just to kind of help determine, you know, if those resources are being used. And Colleen, oh, hey, Colleen, I haven't seen you in a while. I hope you're doing well. Colleen says, sorry if I came in late. Are the NUBE games being mailed to libraries that register? Oh, yeah. We're going to be mailing out most of the card decks from our office in Boulder, or in Boulder. But I just wanted to, you know, if anybody was at ALA, that would save us some money, and I can throw a few in my bag. But I know this year especially, a lot of folks aren't able to go to ALA. So yeah, we will totally mail them.
Let me, if I could, Brooks, hop in. There are, in the blog that I was mentioning, where we were consolidating the resources that we're taking to ALA, there is a link to, there's the guide for the I Read 2025 library program, as well as the summer 2025, the Color Our World library program is in there. So if you are a library participating in those, feel free to take a look at those guides for some ideas for how to do some more globe connections.
All right, thank you, Jessica. Okay, so I wanted to walk through the application really quick. Again, it's pretty simple. I'm sure most of you have figured it out without difficulty. But it is good to know, like, yeah, why we're collecting certain pieces of information. Well, first I'll start. Sky, if you want to drop the blog link in, I know you've dropped it in a few times, but if you want to pop it in one more time, if you go to our StarNet website, here's a blog where you can find a lot of information that we've put, including this pre-application webinar link, and that's where we'll upload the video. And then you go down and you click on this application link right here. And that will take you to the SurveyMonkey link, which is what we use for most of our programs. So we have a little bit of a description here, some photos. Really, I'll say this is less of an app. We're calling it an application. This is more of a sign up, and that will ensure that you will you are a library and that you will use the cards and the way that we've intended, which is not just giving them out to patrons, but it's to actually use them in some of your programs. So really, this first question is the main thing. We want to make sure that you are ordering it for your library. We didn't specify, a lot of our programs work with public libraries. For this, we're open to school libraries, other types of libraries as well. So yes, once you verify that, we've determined that you're definitely in a good running to receive a deck of cards. Point of contact, just your name, all this information. We use FedEx to ship, so we would really, really, really prefer not to ship to a PO box. If that is the absolute only way that you can receive anything, that's what we can be flexible. But we would prefer to ship not to a PO box. If that means receiving them, if you're a small library, you can't receive packages for some reason at your library physical location, be happy to send them to a different, like your house. We've done that before with some of like the Eclipse glasses and things like that. Okay, so number of NUBE card decks requested. We're either doing sets of 2 or 4. Most folks, it's probably leaning towards people selecting 2 as opposed to 4. Like I said, we have about 250 individual decks left. About 3/4 of these are accounted for. So right now, everybody on this webinar, I think if you did want 4, great. But if you're a smaller library, if you're having less patrons come in, then go ahead and select the 2, and then I'll just clear up space for other people to select. But if you're a bigger library and you really think you'll use all 4, heck yeah, please request all 4. Briefly describe how you might use the card game with your patrons. Yeah, again, this isn't like a required, this isn't a yes or no, you got it right or wrong kind of answer. We just wanted to see what kind of ideas you came up with, and I'll share some of those in just a minute. It's libraries do such innovative new things, and we all like to borrow and steal from each other. What age range do you expect to use this activity with? Again, no right or wrong answer here. We're hoping that this is a multi-generational kind of program. I could definitely see younger patrons enjoying this, but I could also see older patrons, and some of the applicants so far have indicated that they plan to use it with adults as well, which is always exciting. I think you can always convince adults to do like a kid's program anyway, even if you have, we do a little shadow game, Moon Bear Shadow, and when we've done it with adults, they really love it. You just kind of have to get them, I don't know, out of their own ego a little bit. Library type, yeah, just want to know what kind. Primarily, like I said, we work with public, but this is open to all types of libraries. Library setting, again, this is just, we want to know what kind of libraries are interested in these materials. If you're confused about what library, what kind of community you're in, you can use that. Census data is typically what we rely on. Or, if you're like, I'm pretty sure I'm suburban, urban, then select that. That's not, you don't have to spend too much time thinking about that. I Read Summer Theme, yeah, we would just, as mentioned, there's a lot of globe connections with the I Read Summer Theme, so we wanted to find out where those connections are. I probably don't have to read through all of these. These are all pretty self-explanatory. But it's always good to know, yeah, what kind of experience people have with STEM programs. Because also, if we get a lot of library staff that are oh, I don't do STEM, I don't do science, but they're really attracted to a resource for a certain reason, like this is a fun, exciting game, then that's good for us to know as we develop new resources. The ALA question, I know, yeah, as mentioned, Colleen was asking in the chat, do we have to be going to ALA? No, absolutely not. I know most folks probably aren't going to go to ALA. We will have a booth there. Myself and a member of the Globe team will hopefully be doing a Hyperwall presentation about this too. Maybe have a few card decks to hand out there, but it would just save us on shipping, and you'd get your cards a little bit faster if you are going to ALA. And it's also a chance for me. I'll be at the booth talking about, you know, projects and everything. I'll like get to step aside and go like talk to you for a minute and take a little break. And so yeah, please let us know. And if you didn't, or if you did say you're going to ALA and something's changed, you can always reach out to me via email or Sky. Sky, if you wouldn't mind putting my email in the chat. And then any additional comments, right? And so we've had some folks being like, oh, this is a great resource, more stuff like this, please. Or if you're like, hey, I think a really great program about clouds might be this. Here's my idea. That's where you would leave that. So again, pretty self-explanatory. It's a lot of questions for a small deck, but again, this is just helping us as we develop resources. Let me go back to the slides, and I just want to share what I've pulled from the app, or I had Sky pulled these from the applications. Sky, your name is very apt for this webinar, by the way. Yes, Deidre, the recording will be available probably later today or by early next week, and I'll post it on the blog so everybody can have access. It'll also be on our YouTube StarNet page as well. Okay, so here's a programming idea. One of our game nights this summer is going to be outdoors at our town's summer fun series. So we could go do this outdoors and while we're actually observing clouds. We could put one deck in our circulating kits that patrons can check out with our Earth and weather themed science kit, right? So these would be really good going in a circulation kit. You know, if it's gonna be going into homes, you probably want to make sure that you have all the cards. I think it's 72 cards when they come back, so everybody can play. And then if not, you might have to replace here and there. That might be good for the downloadable too, if you wanted to download it and put it on card stock. As part of a weather cloud themed STEM story time where we read a book about clouds. Yes, I love story time integrations like that. And then participants play the game to reinforce cloud information in a fun way. Really, I love that.
I was going to add that, you know, that is a lot of what Queens Public Library, they were doing storybooks. Then they started adding in the Globe Clouds storybook, which is written for kind of like kids that would be in the K-4 grades. And again, it was part of this like, well, the cloud names are kind of tricky. And so that is how this idea came about. And as Brooks was saying, you know, I know it's a lot of questions, but we're really genuinely interested in developing resources that you would find useful, not what we think might be useful. So the more you can tell us about, you know, the groups that you are working with, the types of resources that you use, the better we'll be able to work with you to make resources that suit your needs.
Jessica. And I really liked this answer because it was more of like a professional development approach of like, hey, we want to help our employees, excuse me, be better at identifying clouds and know more about clouds. So using it as a PD for librarians around the state. I know this must be maybe from a state library, I'm going to guess. And then with this game engaging all ages, it would be perfect for adult patrons that visit for a while, right? So those patrons that maybe are there for a long time, a good way to you know, stay engaged. In addition to our young mothers who bring in children for socialization, right? So I can see a deck in the teen section, which is often used for an intense game of checkers. This game would be a great addition. Yeah. Yeah, awesome. I know I've been in a library before and I've seen a group of teens playing Uno, and I was like, y'all need to okay, no, have fun. But yeah, like it got pretty intense there for a minute. So yeah, I wanted to ask you too, which is the next few minutes. What ideas do you have? Maybe one of these was your idea, but how might you plan to use those in your own programming? So Christine Conwell says, we're hosting star parties this summer in parks throughout town. We'll make these available to play while we wait for it to get dark. That's a great idea, yeah. Especially with these late, I'm not sure where you are, Christine, but yeah, right now it's like 8:30 sunsets for us. And all right.
I can't type as well, but I will say that we will try to do an outreach with our local schools, because I know that cloud identification is part of the Mississippi science curriculum.
Yeah.
So, and I know our teachers are always hurting for resources to provide fun ways to learn.
Yeah, this is a great connection with schools and with I guess, I don't know what age. I guess it's different state by state. They're going to specifically be talking a lot about weather, a lot about physical kind of, you know, geography and earth science, this would be a great connection for that. Or if they're coming into the library for a field trip or a visit, would be great. Okay, Jacqueline says the story time idea is what I was thinking about. We also hold a teen cafe board game afternoon and could include it there. Yeah, I think it'd be great for that drop-in programming, like a lot of y'all are saying. A whole host of board and tabletop games. I think this would be a great addition. You know, Jessica, the local, we have like a brewery near us that my wife and I will go, and they have a bunch of board games and stuff. I'm like, I need to print out a deck and take it down there because people are always playing Uno and cards, and I need to get Globe there.
Yeah, I love that idea. You're just gonna like sneakily put them in various locations that have board games.
Yeah, yeah. There's a coffee shop downtown. I'll go sneak one in over there.
I think that's the beauty of having a game that is very Uno-like, in that it's pretty easy to pick up on the rules of the game. And so you can have lots of different age groups participating. And that's part of what makes it fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Sci-fi book club meets at a local brewery. Yeah. Yeah, you know, living in Boulder area, there's a lot of like really science-minded people. And so we'll go do trivia at the brewery. And one week it was a weather trivia. And I was like, okay, I'll be pretty good at this. I know a lot about weather. And then I think some people from like NOAA or like the National Weather Service.
Yeah, UCAR and NCAR were probably there.
Yeah. They beat me for that $5 gift card. Awesome. Well, I do also want to leave. I love that the ideas are flowing in. If you have questions about this, I know most of you all have asked already, but we're open for any logistical questions too. And we'll I'll go ahead and I'll just pop my email in there one last time as well. Jessica, maybe if you don't mind doing that as well.
Sure.
If you have questions or if you have ideas too of like, hey, I think, you know, my patrons are really kind of itching for this kind of cloud related or citizen science related program. I always love hearing everybody's ideas. Zedra, it's great, and you're the first person I've actually met from Vernon, so it's nice to meet you. It was good talking.
Yeah, thank you. Joanne was mentioning that through the Globe website, if you are really interested in doing more programming with Globe, with data collection and doing Earth system science, you can create an educator account on the Globe website, and you can do online e-training. So there's an e-training module for clouds and lots of other different protocols on there. So you can become certified, which allows you to host kind of student accounts. It allows for some more flexibility in terms of programming. And if you are interested, please let me know if you have questions around that, because there's a lot of different things that you can do. And we've seen libraries do this in a lot of different ways as well.
Really insane. I also
Cool.
put Indigenous teaching in languages with our protocols. That's awesome. Well, I appreciate everybody joining us on a Friday late in the day. It shows you're very committed to clouds and to STEM if you're willing to join this late in the day on a Friday before a 3-day weekend. So thank you to everybody. I hope to hear from everybody. See some of you at ALA perhaps. Oh, sorry, I don't want to cut off while we still have good stuff. It's 30 years ago. I became a
Oh,
Globe
that's
teacher.
wonderful.
So if anybody watching the recording, Jacqueline saying about 30 years ago, she became a Globe teacher at our school, collected weather data for years, shared it with local TV stations, and then aired it. It was a lot of fun and really got the kids involved. That's awesome.
Well, your library can become a Globe site yet again. That's amazing. You've been part of the program for basically since its beginning. Congratulations. Thank you.
Pauline says, our city won a grant to plant trees in our downtown area, so our library is celebrating trees all year and using the Globe Tree app as part of the activities. Interested in the Clouds app since we'll be doing more activities, outdoor activities. Awesome.
Yeah, and if you are not familiar with the globe trees portion of the app, you can measure the height of the tree with your phone. So it turns your phone into what's called a clinometer. And so if something is too high for you to take a ruler and measure it, we can use a little algebra here and figure out the height of that tree. And so it turns your phone into a clinometer. So that one's super fun as well.
So Liza is saying, I plan to work with one of my building science teachers in incorporating the card games into their lessons and then possibly hold a tournament-like game during lunchtime in the library. Ooh, competitive. I'm sure I'll get a better idea of how I'd like to implement it once I take a look at them, but that's my plan for now. That sounds awesome. Yeah, Colleen's saying I'd like to get more people to become citizen scientists. It really is. I remember when I first heard about the idea of citizen science, I like to do a lot of like trail running and long distance running. And my buddy was like, hey, look, this group says, you can go and collect like place vials, or you can go and collect a vial deep in the woods. They need people that are out in the woods a lot. And I never followed up on that opportunity. But then I found a few years later that there's like way more accessible things with our apps, things we could do in our local environments, and things that are really, really simple too, where you don't have to go travel miles and miles into the woods to go collect something.
Yeah, I just popped a link in the chat to NASA's citizen science page. So if you are interested in citizen science, take a look at NASA's citizen science page. Also, SciStarter is another great place if you're interested in learning more about doing citizen science programming.
Last thing I'll plug to one of our partners, CocoRaws. I don't know what that acronym stands for. Collaborative Rain and Action Hail Snow Network or something like that. They do a lot of citizen science in terms of collecting rainfall measurements specifically. And that's another, if you live in an area, you're already collecting rainfall data, you have a little weather station at your library, that may be something to look into as well. All right. Well, everybody have a great weekend. Reach out if you have any questions, and we will see you soon.
Thank you all so much.
Bye.
Bye.